Welcome to the Cougar Cast here at the Kokomo Post Sports. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and this is the place to get all the information on what's going on inside the athletic department at IU Kokomo. And joining us at the top of the show once again, it's Grant Patterson. He is the sports information coordinator at IUK. And Grant, we talked about Sydney last week with Coach Colvin. Oh, I just got word that another female on the track and field team won the Field Athlete of the Week award, and Emma Byram did some amazing things to get that to happen.
Yeah, she did. Emma Byram's a local product out of Northwestern High School, and we just know that. We knew kind of that it was a long time coming for her to hit the A standard or even the B standard in javelin, and she did both this past week at the 119th Annual Little State Championships at Indiana Wesleyan. And I think the best thing about that is her best throw came at the place where she's going to be competing at Nationals later in May. I think it's May 22nd through the 25th. She'll be back at Indiana Wesleyan because of her performance last week, and I think it was her fourth throw last week on Friday. She hit the NAI B standard, which it would have been fine if she stopped there, but she went ahead on her fifth and final throw and hit the A standard, and I think she was fourth in the nation as of that throw, and I think now she's dropped back to sixth, but still, sixth in all the NAI is a pretty impressive feat.
Also first in the conference.
Yeah, first in the RSC. So River State's conference championships are Thursday and Friday of this week in Pittsburgh, so they're headed out there tomorrow, I would assume, and she's obviously the favorite to win the javelin. And I think overall, our women's throws program, man, I think they're the best in the conference.
It's kind of wild hearing Coach Colvin talk about Sydney, and he even mentioned when I talked to him who is next that might qualify for nationals. He mentioned Emma Byram and the distance that she needed to get in the javelin, and even talked about how they don't do that in high school in Indiana.
Right.
And then credited just the fact that Sydney at the time had quickly learned it and then qualified for nationals in two sports, but now there's two throws in one throw. That's weird to say, two throws in one throw. Two athletes in one throwing competition. That sounds a whole lot better.
Yeah.
That will be competing in the javelin, but Emma is one of those that I don't know personally. I'm looking forward to meeting her down the road, but it's got to be fun from your standpoint to see her specifically get this award and see how she's gotten better just looking at the stats throughout the year.
Yeah, and when I say it was a long time coming, this is because this is her second straight trip to the NAI Outdoor Nationals. She's no stranger to IWU. She competed in the Outdoor Nationals last year at IWU. Didn't have a bad performance, but it's not easy to finish in the top 10 or so, and top 6, I believe, earns NAI All-American status, so it's not easy to do that. But she comes back. She's what you would consider a vet. She's a senior here at IU Kokomo, so I think really I think she's eyeing the first place trophy. She's eyeing the prize, but I think for sure that an NAI All-American finish is not out of the picture for her.
Not at all. Let's look back to last weekend once again. Baseball ended regular season's not over yet. They have a game on Tuesday of this week, but they did get a win on Senior Day against Midway. What stood out in that game, Grant?
I think just a little bit of resiliency. A tough start to the weekend. Anybody around the baseball program would admit that going 0-2 against Midway wasn't the start they envisioned, but bounce back and salvage a win out of the 3-game series. Yes, you lose a series, but you head into Tuesday's contest at number 4 University of the Cumberlands. That's how you're going to end the regular season. So really, you have a chance to end the regular season on as high a note as anybody in the nation, to be honest. So got a chance to make a statement here and put us on the map, shock the world, if you will, before we head into this weekend's opening round of the River States Conference Tournament.
What's coming up this week? Because you sent me a text, and then I didn't really realize the magnitude of the series that will be happening in downtown Kokomo.
Yeah, so the Bears of Shawnee State, they're a first-year River States Conference program. They're coming to town Thursday and Friday of this week. Due to some weather, we've had to move things up, but Thursday and Friday. And the winner of this 3-game series, it's a best-of-3 series, so Game 3 is not necessarily a given. It doesn't necessarily have to happen, but Thursday at 3, This Thursday, that is, we'll host a doubleheader with Shawnee State, and it's a best-of-3, like I said. So the winner of this series will be the number 3 seed in next week's River States Conference Tournament, and that'll be held in Chillicothe, Ohio, as is normal at VA Memorial Stadium. But the loser, it's not that big of a deal. If you do drop the series, you're the number 4 seed. We're one of 4 programs in the River States Conference to clinch our berth to the final site next week of the conference tournament. So a chance to lock in the 3 seed this week and then go to battle next week against the best teams in the conference.
What's the name of that city again?
Chillicothe.
You said it so well the first time, then you kind of started the second.
Yeah, Chillicothe, and you guys will hear from men's golf coach Brent Martin. He's familiar with Chillicothe. Chillicothe is right next door to Circleville, and that's where RSCFO Ohio Christian, where he used to work, is. So some different names in Ohio for sure.
Circleville is a whole lot better than Chillicothe, and I didn't think I was going to say it as well as I did right there, honestly. I was trying to make fun of him, but here I am saying the same city's name. This past weekend, though, I got the chance to go to the Student Activities and Event Center before heading to downtown Kokomo to watch the baseball team play. And the volleyball team hosted, I think it was a 6-team scrimmage.
Something like that.
In the spring, and I don't know if that's normal or not. You can definitely touch on that. But what was the report that you got back from Heather Hayes about how the team played?
Yeah, they'll do these jamboree type things. I don't think and normally they do it every spring. They'll also have a scrimmage prior to season as well in the fall. But yeah, I think I pretty much heard a lot of the similar things you did. You reported to me that Indiana Wesleyan, the reigning national champions, the team that we were the first to take to 5 sets and in the Sweet 16, I mean, they return the NAI National Player of the Year. Obviously, they return the NAI Coach of the Year. And 50-minute scrimmages was the setup for this past weekend. So you get in about 2 full sets. And you reported to me that they take the second set and at worst, not sure what happened in the first set, but at worst, you split against the reigning national champions. Even if everything else doesn't go to plan that day, I think you have to hold your heads high knowing that you did that, you accomplished that, and it's just spring. Like, we're not even into the full go of the season, but I think that shows that the spring season has been effective to this point. This is the final week of the spring season, so it's over with until I'm sure there's summer workouts involved, but I heard more of the same from Heather. I think she's happy with how her squad played, and man, I'm just excited to see this team get on the court full time in the fall.
So after that match with IU on Saturday, I ended up leaving to go to Kokomo Municipal Stadium to watch the baseball team play. But before that, I ended up talking to Heather Hayes afterwards and just talking to her, saying, hey, how you doing? How do you think they did? All of those things. Touched on the recovery that the athletes did in that game and how quickly and how well they recovered throughout the entire match, their 50-minute match. But I also said, and Grant, you'll know this very well, there were a lot of faces out there that I didn't recognize, and it's not that they weren't on the team. There were just a lot of seniors and graduate students that are no longer on the team. So I was thinking about Audrey Strauss, Matoria Wilkinson, Olivia Smith, and others that we saw last year do some amazing things on last year's volleyball team that went to the final site in the conference tournament. They are no longer there. Who are some people that maybe you think will step up and replace those athletes? Yeah,
well, and just like I told you Saturday, it's crazy because that just speaks to the depth that we have to be able to step in and still compete with IU on that same level we competed with them in Sioux City at the final site. But not necessarily names this year. I think it's going to be more of the same in terms of what we saw last year. It's just going to be those ladies stepping into bigger roles. And then I know we have a 6-person recruiting class coming in. So as I was telling you Saturday, it's going to be impressive to see how they mold together as one. And you're going to see freshmen like Callie Cummings, Mia Niekamp, they're going to step into bigger roles. But don't forget, we have a she's only been here 2 years, and she's a 2-time NAI All-American in Lexi Broyles, so she's going to take an even bigger workload on her plate. And then I'm pretty sure the only newcomer that we have for this semester is a DS libero, a defensive specialist, I would say, and Dana DeVera. She actually dates baseball standout Alex Janke, so you guys may know that. But yeah, Dana DeVera, I think she stepped in and played well this weekend from what you said. So a lot of new faces stepping into bigger roles. Yeah, they played some last year, but they're going to step into bigger roles, and then we'll see how this 6-person recruiting class pans out in the fall.
I did see Lexi Broyles over the weekend be very vocal and be more of a vocal leader than maybe she was a year ago. That's one thing that stood out from her. That wasn't inside the lines when she was playing the volleyball. She was very vocal, even when she was not on the court. Grant, since Brent is here, I think it would be one wise, also very foolish of us to not talk about what men's golf did recently.
Yeah, men's golf hosting the IU Spring Invitational for a second consecutive year. And what do they do but go out and win it for a second consecutive year? I think it was 6 total teams competing in the field, finished first of 6 by, I think it was single-digit strokes, maybe about 8 or 9 strokes over West Virginia Tech squad. And we're right around the corner. At the end of this week, or at the beginning of next week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they'll be competing in West Virginia at the River States Conference Championship. So winning a tournament, getting that, Yeah, you're playing golf all spring, but to win a tournament, get that out of the way, and know that it can be done going into the River States Conference Championships is special. But they didn't stop there because individual medalist was Drew Wagner, a senior. So he's playing in his final home event and being able to get the job done. I think he shot a 2 over 72 in the final round to win it. So that was impressive on all accords from those guys. And I think I don't know if everybody's expecting us to go out there and win this weekend, but I really have high hopes for this squad this year and think they can get it done next week in West Virginia.
Grant, I was going to do something else a little bit before, but I look at the time here on my phone. Let's have a little bit of fun like we always do. Grant and I joke around and goof off all the time, so bear with us for the next 2 or 3 minutes. I've been in Kokomo. It'll be a year at the end of June, and one thing my wife and I like to do is go out and get breakfast on Saturday mornings. There's a lot of good breakfast spots in Kokomo. And I know when I say food in Kokomo, a lot of people watching right now are going to pay attention and tap in
I
for the next
definitely
few
perked
minutes.
up.
Grant, what is your favorite breakfast spot in Kokomo?
Man, I'm going to take some heat for my second choice. My first choice is going to be Omeletti's. That's a no-brainer for me. It's clearly Omeletti's in my opinion.
Is that the one off Jefferson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's right over there by Jefferson and Wallace Elementary. Frittatas is just as good, and it's right by campus. Maybe once I start full time and I've got to be at work at 9 a.m., frittatas will be my go-to. Not quite there yet, but man, I'm a Cracker Barrel guy. It's on my side of town.
Oh my!
I go to Cracker Barrel a good amount.
Oh.
The chicken and waffles for breakfast, it just hits different.
Hey, Gabe, you want to mute his mic real quick? just go ahead and do that because that's Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel is as good as it gets. You will never see me complain. I won't even complain about IHOP. Breakfast is breakfast, man. Breakfast is like dessert to me. So anytime I get a chance to eat breakfast, I'm not going to complain. But if you, I'm 100% choosing Omeletti's if I had to choose my favorite place in Kokomo.
Okay, we got that in line. I would pick Omeletti's myself as well. Last time Grant and I did this back and forth, it was during the Final Four, him picking games, and I tried to dodge picking games that time. I'm not going to dodge that right now. I don't want to get that going, but you said Cracker Barrel. And I am a person.
You're just not a chain guy, I'm guessing.
Not for breakfast, bro.
That's fair.
Absolutely not. No,
That's fair.
Definitely more of a mom and pop, a guy that's local. Get me a restaurant that is there. I am going to be there. I'm that kind of person.
I'm more of that type of person for like a lunch or dinner meal. Like my favorite place to get food in Kokomo, it doesn't even matter about drinks, is Cooper's Pub. They've got the best food for me in Kokomo. No matter what it is on the menu, I like it and I greatly enjoy it.
So we're in line there as well. That wasn't planned at all. That wasn't in my head. But yeah, I'll go Cooper's Pub. Let me think. Is there any other food places or food things I would like to... Neither one of us said Missy's.
I've honestly never had Missy's.
Okay, so I
couldn't even point out where it is in Kokomo, and that's bad of me considering I've lived here for 25 and a half years. But yeah.
Well, we might have to get Tom up here from San Antonio because this is really, you don't know where, you never been?
Or maybe Missy's will cover our breakfast and we can go in there one day next week.
I like how he thinks. Coming up next, I like how he thinks, guys. Coming up next, I appreciate Grant for coming on. As a show, we'll roll on. Brent Martin, the golf coach, men's golf coach at IUK, will be coming on. And if you're curious to hear what Brent thinks about breakfast in Kokomo, he's going to get that question too. As the Cougar Cast rolls on, I'd like to welcome into the show the men's golf coach at IUK. Him and I have talked a couple times on the show, a couple times away from the show when I'm on campus just attending IUK sporting events. It's Brent Martin. Now, Brent, you heard the conversation that Grant and I just had about our favorite breakfast spots in Kokomo. Him and I both said Omeletti's. What is yours?
Probably not going to enjoy my answer much anymore, but I don't eat breakfast. So shout out to my wife. She tries to get me to go to brunch all the time. That is her favorite meal. So we've been to brunch once and it was at IHOP. So there we go. That's it. That's a disappointing answer, I know.
Well, what goes into the decision to not eat breakfast?
I like to say that I drink my breakfast with coffee or usually a soda.
Oh.
Not healthy either, but I work it off on the golf course.
Speaking of golf, the weather is warming up now. Before we get into the team and how the team is currently playing and the win over the weekend, how has your golf game been recently?
My golf game doesn't start till the semester ends. So my golf game's pretty bad right now. Always on the golf course. Everybody thinks that I'm always playing well, but I don't get much practice or playing in until the semester ends. So hopefully, you ask me in a month, hopefully it'll be much better.
Okay. I would not have expected that at all, but I kind of forget how busy you are this time of year, especially preparing the team for meets that they just won. Just could you, if you could, just explain. I think it was a 2-round meet, 2 rounds there. What did they do so well, and how did they win that?
So college golf is kind of unique. We've gone to this kind of model where we play 36 holes in one day, and we thought that's a good idea to make the kids play from sun up to sundown. So we've actually done that 3 times in a row. Our last 3 tournaments have been 36 holes in one day. So you just keep going, grab a box lunch and keep going. So fortunately, Wildcat Creek's been a great host to us, year number 2 out there. And so we shot basically identical scores of 304, 305. First place, beat West Virginia Tech, like Grant said, by 6 shots. And we double dipped. So we had the medals as well. So shout out to Drew Wagner for his 72-75 finish, and won both of the individual and the team crown.
So you talk about 36 holes in one day, 2 rounds of golf back to back, grabbing a box lunch and keep on going. For me and my minimal knowledge of playing golf, because I'm not good. So I sold my golf clubs before I moved to Kokomo. So I don't know what it's like to play 36 holes in one day. What does that do to your body?
It's not ideal. Let's just say that. So as a coach, it can be a little bit frustrating because I'm not playing, but you still want to see your kids succeed. And so sometimes we were at a tournament last Monday at Purdue, and no joke, kids were laying down on the tee box, like on hole 34, 35, you walk by and like kids are exhausted. They're barely getting to the tee box. And one kid was like, I had to chuckle a little bit. He was literally laying out on his stomach, just trying to catch his breath a little bit. And so that's obviously not ideal for scoring and not ideal for your performance. But fortunately, we don't have to do that at our conference tournament. So our conference is done away with the 36-hole days. So we do have a nice, enjoyable 18 holes every day, 18, 18, 18.
How do you think the team has performed so far this season?
So this season's kind of been up and down. We've had some really good rounds. We've shot, 304, 304, 305, 299, 305. We played in North Carolina at a really hard course that we'd never even played on before, and shot rounds of 311 and 312, which was fairly good. But then we've gotten beat up by a couple courses as well. When we went to Keene Trace, which is actually hosts the PGA Tour Barbasol Classic, down in Lexington. 2 weeks ago, if you remember, when it was snowing and sleeting out, we were playing 36 holes in that weather. So we got beat up quite a bit by that course, really hard, really fast. The weather did not help. The 36 holes did not help. Yeah. And so kind of been up and down, but I know the guys have been locked in, focused in on the conference tournament coming up this weekend. And so we've been preparing and practicing and kind of gearing up for these next 3 days.
How many golfers are going to be participating in the conference tournament later this week?
So the conference tournament, we always play 5, count 4. So you can always have 5 guys. You get a drop a score. So you always count your lowest 4. Typically, I will bring a 6th as like a kind of a backup. Somebody wakes up sick. We've actually seen, unfortunately, a team went through a bout of food poisoning at our conference tournament 2 years ago. And so you have that 6th person there to kind of fill in as a sub, much like a basketball or a volleyball. Somebody would sub in. You just have to sub in for the whole entire round. So you have to play the whole round or not any other round. So I'll bring 6, and we'll go down there. We'll play a practice round on Saturday, get to know the course. I think we were counting it up this week, rounds 10, 11, and 12 for most of the guys that have been around the block. So we'll get to know the course. We'll get to know kind of the speed of the greens. And then, Sunday we'll start with 18 holes.
Who's going to be on the trip with you?
That will be determined tomorrow. Ooh. And Thursday. We're actually qualifying over the next couple of days. So I have exempted. Our top 3 players have been exempted. Okay. We've got a couple seniors in there. And then Hayden, if you guys remember, Hayden won the fall preview. So obviously he'll be getting to go. But we've got quite a few players fighting for that number 4 and number 5 spot. So it'll be interesting to see who fills in.
So I'm curious, and I think we may have talked about this before in the fall, but a lot of time in sleep has been happening since that time period. So it escaped my memory. I talked to Coach Colvin about track. They have the indoor nationals, they have outdoor nationals. Is there a fall nationals for golf and a spring nationals for golf?
There's not. Okay. I wish there was an indoor golf simulator championship, but unfortunately the NAI does not offer a indoor golf option. There are some tournaments that do a fall schedule, and some schools do. I think some of the schools around us actually play their fall, their championship in the fall. Okay. But that qualifies you for the national championship in the spring that we'll be going to. So some schools, especially in the north, have decided that they want to play their conference championship and their countable tournament in the fall, whereas the River States we play in the spring.
Which would you prefer?
Fall for sure. Fall for sure. The weather, the kids come in, whether they're a freshman or a senior, they come in from the summer. So their games should be pristine. They should be ready to go. The weather's better. So we can immediately play week 1, middle of August is great weather. And then we can even play into the end of October. So more time in the better weather in the fall, but it is what it is. They've chosen to go to school in the north, and that's just kind of one of the things that we fight.
No basketball. I'm just trying to get some. I'm very curious about golf and kind of the logistics here. Mm-hmm. Weather hasn't been great this year for the outdoor sports. Of course, indoor there's no weather involved. But there's been rain. Even the day that we're talking, there have been high schools locally that have canceled baseball and track and field and softball and those events that are happening this time of year. But then they're like, another cancellation, just the weather's been that way. Right. What is the River States Conference plan if there is inclement weather that they're forced to cancel one of the rounds due to weather? So we do have kind of some flexibility built into that schedule, but college golf, lightning for sure, not going to play, but rain will not stop us. Even high winds will not stop us. Both of them put together probably might not even stop us from competing. We played in Lexington, and I think the temperature was 51 with 20-mile-an-hour gusts of wind, sleet and rain. I mean, I had 5 layers on and I was freezing cold, so I couldn't imagine even playing in that. So I know some sports like tennis that have that outdoor component, they're able to back up indoors and they have reservations indoors. We would, at minimum, have to compete. I believe it's 36 holes. Okay. So we would kind of move and shift and try and beat the weather, kind of like baseball does, and move the games around. We'd move tee times around, like they do on TV. But as long as we would get 2 rounds in, we would call the tournament. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. That would make me nervous if I'm one of the golfers, especially at IUK. If with the way the weather's been so far, you're thinking, man, the weather could mess me up. I could not get what I want. I want to go all 3 rounds. Like all the things that you as a competitor want. All of a sudden, it's like, well, what I want, I might get blocked because of the weather. Yeah. How do your guys handle the ups and downs of the weather going into such a big meet? Yeah. Fortunately, all 10 of my guys, besides one, all 10 of them grew up in Indiana or are from Indiana. So they know the spring season, the high school season is in the spring as well. So the weather they're well versed in fighting the elements in the weather. So you just you deal with it. I know there's competition amongst the team. Obviously we've got open spots for conference that we're trying to fill. And so the weather is a factor in when and what time they're going to qualify and what time they're going to play and what courses we're going to play. And it's that's golf though. I mean, most of these kids have learned to deal with that and learn to kind of fight through that as best they can. So you heard Grant and I earlier talk about breakfast. You and I can talk about breakfast too. But then at the end, we both threw in our best lunch or dinner spot in Kokomo. And I know you were here for at least 6 months for a little bit. Yep. And you're a brunch guy, not a breakfast guy. For lunch or dinner, what's your favorite place to get that here in Kokomo? Grant's smiling because he knows kind of where I'm going with this one. But shout out to Kokomo, the fast food and chain restaurant capital of the world. My wife and I are chain people. We love the Texas Roadhouses. We love the Fazoli's. I get the same thing anywhere I go. Yeah. So when I find something that I like, there's no need to branch out.
maybe much to my wife's chagrin a little bit. She's not quite like that, but huge Texas Roadhouse fans. We love that. And then Fazoli's. Fazoli's breadsticks are where it's at. And third on that list would probably be Cone Palace. We'll go with the local favorite.
Texas Roadhouse, man. My wife and I have been trying to do date nights more frequently, and that's a spot that I've been saying quite a bit. One day she's like, Jay, pick something else. I'm like, but I like it. I like Texas Roadhouse. And we've definitely branched out. I went to Olive Garden recently, another chain.
Yep. There's a reason why those restaurants are a 2-hour wait.
Yes.
Is it because the food is bad, or is it because the food is good and people enjoy it?
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So there was a spot I've never been to. I don't know if you've been there. I haven't talked about this with Grant. Oh, it's a Italian place. I can't think of it right now.
Pastorific.
Yes, thank you. Have you been there?
I have not been there. I've had it at IUK before. Delicious.
Delicious. Okay,
Yep.
cool. I was looking for a recommendation either one way or another.
Yep.
So, okay, cool.
They've catered a couple events at IUK, and what I know about it has been really good every time.
Thumbs up or thumbs down, Grant? Grant, thumbs up. Gabe,
Grant's
have you
thumbs
been
up.
there?
Grant,
Okay.
Gabe's in the middle.
Gabe is in the middle. I have not been there yet. I will do my best at some point to try to check the place out. I want to once again appreciate Brent Martin for coming on the show. He is not only the men's golf coach at IUK, he's also in the administration portion of the athletic department as well. So he's double dipping and does a great job with all that. Appreciate Grant Patterson for coming on the show once again. This has been the Cougar Cast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.